You're right.
Pickle! To the air sign. Yes, y'all. From the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Mothership here in beautiful Lewisville, Texas, it's Texas Football Today, presented by our friends at VCR Now. My name's Greg Tepper. I'm the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football magazine, TexasFootball.com, a corresponding website. Thank you for spending part of your day with us. Whether you're watching us live, TexasFootball.com, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, all of the places, or you're listening to us on the podcast, which you can subscribe to on the podcast vendor of thy choice. Either way, thank you for doing your part to support your local mediocre internet show. I'm sitting over there at the helm today, making us sound good. They call her the Duchess of the Dorks. I call her Ashley Pickle, my good friend. But your mileage may vary. Hi, Ashley Pickle.
Wow, hi. That's
Hi.
That's an important title.
It is, yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
This is our last. We're being nice to each other because this is our last show before we all go on vacation.
Yeah, I don't have to deal with you
so it's
anymore.
like, yeah, no, it's great. I love Pickle.
Yeah.
I love Pickle, especially because I'm not going to have to see her for like 10 days.
Exactly.
It'll be great. Today is Friday, July 1st, 2022. It's 146 days until Thanksgiving. Happy birthday to Missy Elliott, one of the greatest of all time. Happy birthday, misdemeanor.
Mm-hmm.
It's episode 1415. We are going out with a bang. We're going to be off next week, but we have loaded up the show in a big, big way. We'll work backwards from what we're doing, okay? At the back end of the show, we're going to have Helpful Honda Mailbag Friday, where we'll answer a few of your questions about high school football, college football, recruiting, lifestyle, romance, travel, all of the things that you have that you want to ask us. We're happy to answer them before we go on vacation. Before that, we're going to unveil the top 10 in the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Class 6A rankings. The top 10 we will unveil exclusively here, so stay tuned for that. Before that, we are going to hear from the defensive lineman for the Frisco Fighters of the Indoor Football League. He is a Texas A&M alum. He is a Longview alum. Zaycoven Henderson. Had an opportunity to chat with him the other day. We'll hear from him. Before that, we've got a major Dave Campbell's Texas Football announcement. But first, do we have first four through the door?
We sure do. It was, let me go back up here, Aaron Arbuckle, Robert Legow, Cameron Sanders, and Jake McNeil. Welcome in, fellas.
Hi.
And lady fellas for whoever's watching.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. So we've been teasing it enough. It is time for a major Dave Campbell's Texas Football announcement. And this has been in the works for quite a while. But here's the thing. It's not my announcement. So I'm going to kind of shut up. We've got someone else in the studio. I'm joined by Mallory Hartley. Hi,
Boom.
Mallory.
Hey guys, how's it going?
What's up, Malpal?
That's it. That's the announcement. Malpal's on the show today.
Malpal's on the show today. There we go.
Yeah,
In this chair.
Malpal.
All right, there we go.
I've only sat in this chair once before, so it's
that
kind
right?
of a big deal.
Yeah, it was when you were our March Madness bracket correspondent.
Bracketologist,
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Or chief bracketologist.
Chief bracketologist.
Yeah, March Madness bracketologist. So.
But you're here because you guys have some sort of announcement?
We do.
We do. We have
Okay.
a big announcement.
The floor is yours.
Let me just...
Yeah, I want you to throw it up there.
All right. Here we go. WTF. Women Talking Football coming to Dave Campbell's Texas Football, all the platforms, coming July 15th. We figured it was time.
Yeah. I feel like this has been in the talks for over a year now, and I think it's probably when we did our first show together when Tepper was on vacation last year.
Yep.
We were like, this actually went pretty well. I think
This is good.
need
We've got something
This
here.
is good. This is something that we can work on. Yeah, and so I think from then on we were like, yeah, I think we need a WTF podcast, Women Talking Football podcast. Internet show, actually, I should say.
Yeah,
The
so
podcast.
it'll be just like this. Wherever you're watching this show right now, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, or if you're going to be listening to this later on the podcast version, it'll be Spotify, it'll be Apple Podcast, anywhere that you get your podcast, it'll be on there. And we figured we obviously did a fun little photo shoot there to kind of hype this up. But you see our sweatshirts, the Women Belong in Sports, and that's something that I think that we both are incredibly focused on. I think that there isn't another podcast in the state of Texas specifically talking about Texas football that has just women on it. And that's not saying that men aren't going to be allowed on it from time to time, but we're going to be taking a really, deep dive into it. It'll be a normal football show, just like everything else. We're not just going to sit there and talk about being women in sports all the time. That conversation will come up. So if that's your kind of thing, great. If it's not and you just want to hear X's and O's, we can do that too. So I think we're excited to kind of mix both of those, and this is something that we're very excited to be able to do.
When I tell you I haven't been this excited for something in a long time. Okay. I think that sounds terrible, but I think the last time
like your
I was
boyfriend's
this
okay
excited,
too, but like
yeah, of course. But I think the last time I was this excited about something was probably when I knew I was going to get hired on full time here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm super excited for this. It's been a long time coming.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I have nothing to do with it, basically.
We'll have you on time to time, right?
No, I don't need to be on your podcast.
Nah.
That's fine.
No Tepper allowed.
This is my break time.
Let me,
You do with Tepper enough.
Guys.
I'm super proud of you guys. I'm super proud of you guys, and I think that this is a super awesome step for Dave Campbell's. I think it's a necessary podcast. I think it's a show that I think is going to be really well received. I know you guys know so much football that there's going to be just great content in there. I know that. I'm not worried about that. I think it's going to be great, and I'm super proud of you guys for putting it all together and making this show happen, because I think it's an important show, and I think it's the kind of show that is going to resonate with a lot of people. And one of the things that's, I think, important to Dave Campbell's Texas football is that we do, empower women and empower
Absolutely.
people who otherwise maybe don't have the kind of platform that they should. Mm-hmm. And so this is awesome. I'm super excited for you guys, and I can't wait to watch. I think you guys saw how I was whenever Republic of Football went live.
For sure.
You took
Proud
the photo
dad moment.
of me.
Yeah.
I'm just taking a photo of the screen wow,
Craven
here. I'm going to be exactly the same when WTF goes live. So
Wow.
I'm really excited for you guys, and I'm really proud of you guys, and I think it's going to be awesome.
I guess to peel back the curtain here on how this is going to kind of work just a little bit, July 15th will be our first show. We're going to do it right before we go to coaching school to kind of get one of those out and be able to promote it while we're there. We hope coaches will tune in too, just like regular folks like you and I. But we will be doing, on July 15th, we will be doing our first episode in the normal time slot of TFT. It's going to be a little bit of a takeover. We're going to kind of merge our audiences there.
I did not sign up for that, and I'm offended.
Well,
it was actually your idea.
It was
but,
your idea.
we'll do that. So July 15th. But every time after that, it won't be a daily show. It'll be a weekly show, just like ROF is. But we'll be doing it on Thursdays, I believe, at 2.
Yeah.
So we're looking to 45 minutes to an hour. We'll go through. We're going to focus a lot on the regions of Texas high school football and try and grow the audience that way. But we're very excited for it. But July 15th, be by your computers, whatever you're watching on now. We will be doing this just like we would TFT.
There'll be a separate podcast feed, right? That you
Yes.
subscribe to in the same way that you were subscribed to ROF. You can subscribe to TFT. You can subscribe to Women Talking Football.
I think it's kind of cool too to mention that we're not really sure who's going to produce, who's going to host. I'll probably be the main producer. You'll probably be the main host. But
we'll switch it
it'd
off.
be fun to switch off. I've never hosted an internet show before, so I think that'd be kind of cool to try.
Nah, it's
and
not
of
that-
course, you've done both.
not
so
that great.
It's not that.
Not that great.
Tepper can tell us live.
Be
but
honest.
It's not that
It's-
great.
So yeah.
It's
Cool.
awesome, guys.
Thank y'all.
Like,
And I hope that if you're not interested in this kind of thing, give us one shot.
Give it a
Give
try.
us a shot for us to win you
Look, here's the
over,
thing.
and we're excited for it.
It's a show about football from just hosted by women.
Yeah.
That's the way
It's-
to think about it. You know
yeah.
what I mean? I'm
A little bit of razzle-dazzle.
and you guys the other thing, like I said,
A
you
whole
guys-
lot of spirit fingers,
but the thing is, you guys know so much about football that I'm just interested as a football fan to hear what you guys have to say.
Thanks. And we hope that people will look at it that way too.
In the same way that like when I tune into ROF, I'm like, well, Mike Craven and Ishmael Johnson and Mallory Hartley know a ton about college football. I want to listen to that because they know a ton about college football.
Right.
I want to listen because I know you guys know a lot about football, and I think it's gonna be great. Like,
We'll have some cool guests on too.
Yeah.
So I got some good ideas for that.
It'll be fun. So awesome. It's women talking football.
Twitter's asking if we can Fartley and the pickle trending. This is not going well.
Can I make a comment about that? Okay,
Please do.
so
The mic's yours.
I was watching yesterday because you have called me out before that I don't watch the show, and I was like, you know what? I'll tune in. Sure, why not? And the first thing I hear on there is that you're calling me Mallory Fartley. Do you think I'm ever going to watch TFT again? No.
It's women talking football. It's a podcast.
We're not
show
making Fartley trend.
Coming here to DCTF platforms starting July 15th, starring Ashley Pickle and Mallory Hartley on the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Network. Guys, thanks for choosing to do this podcast on our platform.
Yeah,
like you guys could have gone anywhere else, I suppose.
Yeah.
It would have been weird. We would have had a talk.
That would have been a little
be like,
strange.
actually, we're Spotify exclusive. That would have been weird. But awesome.
Yeah.
I will definitely be tuning in. I think a lot of people will be tuning in. It's going to be an awesome show. So congratulations to you guys in advance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And can't wait to see
Very
it in here.
excited.
So
Let's do the
anything
damn
else?
thing.
You got anything else, or are you just gonna go on vacation right now?
Yeah, I'm gonna go on. I'm actually leaving.
Yeah,
like
now-
right now.
I was gonna say,
going
now
on
that we're
vacation.
done, we're all on
Bye.
vacation. See ya.
Yeah.
Not yet. Couple
Well,
more days.
Awesome. Women Talking Football coming July 15th, wherever you consume Dave Campbell's Texas football content. We are Texas Football Today. We're here every weekday at noon on TexasFootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at DCTF, like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's, and of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. TexasFootball.com is where you can become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber at TexasFootball.com/subscribe. Get the 2022 Summer Edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football mailed to you before it hits newsstands. So, you've been around long enough, Pickle, that you know
I'm
that.
old.
Not well, yes.
Not on this
but
earth, just at this company.
You've been around in this company long enough to know that I know July 4th is a big read the magazine weekend.
Oh yeah.
Big weekend.
Yeah.
I get it. Like, I'm frustrated that's not in stores either because of the supply chain issues we've been having. It's not going to be there for a few more weeks. If you want the magazine mailed to you directly, subscribe at TexasFootball.com/subscribe. I don't know what the mail situation is going to be this weekend. Like, I don't know if we can get to you immediately.
Yeah.
But like TexasFootball.com/subscribe, and you can read the 2022 Summer Edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. It's TexasFootball.com/subscribe. We have enough for subscribers. We were able to procure enough paper to take care of our subscribers, but it will not be hitting newsstands until later in July or perhaps even early August. So TexasFootball.com/subscribe. You know, talk about our friends at Athletes to Athletes real quick.
Let's do it.
At Athletes to Athletes, they are a company with a read that reads like this. Playing college football is the dream shared by many Texas high school football athletes across the state of Texas, but there's more that goes into making that dream a reality than just on-field performance. Academics, culture, interests, and location are just some of the areas that need significant consideration. So what if I told you that there is a college counseling service that could help you navigate this process from start to finish, developed specifically for student athletes? That's where our friends at Athletes to Athletes comes in. Headquartered right here in Texas, Athletes to Athletes is just what you need. As the best college counseling service available to student athletes, this local business helps you navigate the waters of the recruiting process better than anybody, taking into account all of the things that you need to know that are special to the recruiting and student athlete experience. So do me a favor, go to athletesAthletes.com/DC to schedule your free info session and see if they're right for you. See if they are. See if what they've got cooking and their traditional college counselor program with added programs, tools, and resources for the student athlete experience. See if that's right for you. Doesn't cost you anything. Go to go to athletesathletes.com/DC today to schedule your free info session, or scan that QR code right there. Speaking of subscribers, you may have heard us over the past couple of weeks talking about some promo codes we had up on TexasFootball.com/subscribe. We kind of sicked all of the three cover subjects against one another: South Oak Cliff versus Texas Tech versus UTSA. Give them each a unique promo code to save a little bit of money and subscribe. We've been tracking who used it the most, and the winner of the promo code, the fan base that used their promo code the most was Bang! Birds up.
Such a good photo.
Birds up was the winner. UTSA got out the vote and voted at texasfootball.com/subscribe using the promo code Birds Up to save 5% on their subscription. We do thank you for subscribing to Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Congratulations to UTSA, who outgunned Texas Tech and South Oak Cliff to win the promo challenge here at Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Yesterday.
Yes.
Yesterday. Wednesday. Someday.
Time has no meaning.
In the distant past, I had an opportunity to talk with Zaycoven Henderson. Zaycoven Henderson is a former Longview defensive lineman, all-district lineman there. He went on for a great career there at Texas A&M. He is now playing for the Frisco Fighters of the Indoor Football League.
Yep.
Actually, the hottest football team in the state of Texas. 12-2. I think they're on their bye week now. But they're 12-2. They're cooking with Frisco right now.
No kidding.
But we talked with Zaycoven Henderson about what he's doing now and his history there at A&M and Longview. Here's my conversation with Zaycoven Henderson of the Frisco Fighters here on Texas Football Today. Football season is fast approaching, unless you're paying attention to what's going on in Frisco with the Frisco Fighters of the Indoor Football League. And here to talk about the hottest football team in the state of Texas going right now is the defensive lineman for the Frisco Fighters, and also a 2013 District 12 5A All-District selection, Zaycoven Henderson. When's the last time you were introduced as an all-district defensive lineman?
Man, it's been a minute. It's been a minute since I've been introduced to that.
That's what we know you as around here. Now, I got to ask you, you were a star defensive lineman at Longview before going on a great career there at Texas A&M. Now you're moving on to the Indoor Football League where you're playing with the Frisco Fighters. I'm interested, what's the biggest difference for you from playing, at A&M and 11, basically the football you've been playing to what you're doing now?
I mean, right now the game's way faster because, the field's only 50 yards. So, everything's happened very suddenly. I would say the biggest difference is you don't have help. Like, you don't have nobody taking on a double team, you being singled up. It's all man on man, you know what I'm saying? So, that makes the game fairly easier because it's one-on-one a lot. But I think I like outside better than anyone would.
So you're saying that you, in your situation, as a rush end, you're a guy who are like, all right, I want these one-on-ones. I can beat this man. I can get to the quarterback.
Most definitely. Yes, sir.
All right, I mentioned you guys are the hottest team in Texas right now. You guys are 12-2. You guys have rattled off 12 wins in your last 13 games. I'm interested, what has worked for you guys? What has clicked recently that has you guys on this hot run?
What clicks recently is our chemistry, man. I can't say it enough how much of a camaraderie we have as a team. You know what I'm saying? We hang, we got each other's back. No matter the situation we get in, we always can know we can fall and depend on each other, vice versa. Like offense depend on defense, defense depend on offense, special teams. We all play a big part in that. So, as long as we keep those things going and we stay together as a unit, I think that's our biggest thing. I think that's what we got more of advantage of than any other team. We stick together, whether we're up, down, you know what I'm saying, up 50, down 50. We got the same mentality. Our mentality, I appreciate Coach Beck for coming in and setting a standard early, you know what I'm saying? Because, a lot of places you go, they try to get the feel of the players before they try to set their standard. Well, from day one, he let it be known we're going to be the most physical, most dominant team on the field. Win, lose, or draw, they're going to talk about the Fighters.
Zaycoven Henderson joining us here. All right, so for folks who have never been to a Frisco Fighters game or an Indoor Football League game, what can they expect? What kind of show are you guys putting on out there in Frisco?
Excitement, man. It's a very exciting game. If you come out to the Frisco Fighters out at the Co-America Center, you guys will be it's a different experience, but I must say it's still football at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? You got football all year round.
All right, talking with Zaycoven Henderson here. All right, let me ask you, I want to go back to your days at Texas A&M. Texas A&M, you're a star defensive lineman there for the Aggies. The defense is really starting to cook these days. I'm interested, how are you feeling about your Aggies right now, specifically getting this wrecking crew back together How are you feeling about your Ags these days?
I mean, coming in and setting a separate stone with Coach Chavis on that defense in the SEC, you know what I'm saying? Kind of like correcting it as it goes along. It looks good to sit back and watch and be like, hey, I know for a fact the wrecking crew back. You know what I'm saying? It feels good. Those guys are really flying around. They're having fun. I think Jimbo got a good thing going on out there in College Station, man.
It's easy to see that. Okay, and finally, I've got to ask you, we mentioned you're an all-district defensive lineman from Longview. Coach out there, John King, led them to the state championship back in 2018. I haven't asked you since then, but what was your reaction when 2018 finally it ticked off the clock and Longview snapped that long drought? What was the reaction from you?
Man, you know, that was a great feeling. You know what I'm saying? Also, it was a great feeling, I know, for the community. It was also a great personal feeling for me, watching him play for the Little Lobos, going to middle school, and just watching his legacy. Man, I think he did a great thing for the community. His father did a great thing for our community as well. It's been a great pipeline in universities for kids to get out and explore their dreams on the next level and compete at the highest level. You go to Longview, you already know what you're getting. You're getting a hard-working individual and a class citizen. That's what we say.
It's easy to see that why it's working out there. Zaycoven Henderson, a defensive lineman for the Frisco Fighters. Zaycoven, appreciate your time. Congratulations on all the success, and keep it going with the Fighters.
All right, man. I appreciate y'all for having me at Dave Campbell.
Thanks so much for
There's
watching
Zaycoven
that video. If you
Zaycoven Henderson.
I'm here too. We got you surrounded.
Oh my gosh, you've multiplied.
Ooh.
Zaycoven Henderson, defensive lineman for the Frisco Fighters of the Indoor Football League. Get on up there. We talked about it on the pre-show a couple days ago, but I have not been to a Frisco Fighters game, admittedly.
Mm-hmm.
I have heard they are a blast.
Yeah. I have not either, but I have some inside information from people who work there, and they were like, y'all have to come out here.
I've heard that it's just like they've really invested in the fan experience there for the Frisco Fighters. And so go check them out. I believe they got a game next week, not this weekend, but next weekend. And go check out what the Frisco Fighters. There's tons of bunch of Texas ties on that team. Bunch of local boys.
Yep.
So go check them out, the Frisco Fighters. And we appreciate Zaycoven Henderson taking a little bit of time with us. We're Texas Football Today. We're here every weekday at noon on TexasFootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at DCTF, like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's, and of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. We told you it was a jam-packed show.
It is.
So jam-packed, in fact, that getting like fourth billing on the show today is the unveiling.
Like our biggest rankings reveal of the year.
The unveiling of the top 10 in the Class 6A rankings in the 2022 summer edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Of course, we have expanded rankings for every classification in the state. We are the official rankings in the 2022 summer edition. We're the official rankings provider of the Associated Press. So we are the Texas High School Football Rankings of Record. And we've reached the big boys, Class 6A, the largest classification in Texas. We have actually in the magazine, we have the top 50 for Class 6A in there. So if you're interested in that, pick up the 2022 summer edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. But we're unveiling the top 10 today, and we start with number 10. The Rockwall Yellow Jackets are the number 10 team in Dave Campbell's Texas Football. 13 starters are back from last year's area finalist, and they're going to have big playability on both sides of the ball, most notably with wide receiver Noble Johnson. He is a superstar. They've got tons of experience. They're going to be solid up front. They've got good depth. This Rockwall team has a lot to like. One of the things that's going to be troublesome for them is that they're in a very difficult region, and they figure right now we project them to go to the Division I bracket. That said, they're going to be a problem for everyone they come across. Keep an eye on the Rockwall Yellow Jackets, the number 10 team in Dave Campbell's Texas Football. To number 9, the Mustangs of Spring Westfield are the number 9 team in Dave Campbell's Texas Football in Class 6A. This is a team that, unsurprisingly, we think is going to be excellent up front. Their offensive and defensive lines figure to be very good. There are some holes to fill around them, most notably the skill position spots and in the secondary. But in another team in that rough and tumble region, too, that also we project to go to the Division I bracket. That's one thing to keep an eye on, is which bracket does Westfield go to. That said, this is a team that deserves to be considered one of the very contenders in the state. I mean, this is a team that has won 11 or more games in 4 of the last 5 seasons. The only season they didn't do it was in that COVID-riddled 2020 season. So keep an eye on Spring Westfield. They are going to be dangerous. They start the year number 9 in Dave Campbell's Texas football. To number 8. The DeSoto Eagles are the number 8 team in Dave Campbell's Texas football. Now the reigning state 7-on-7 champions proved their might out there at the 7-on-7 field. Can they translate that into the fall? From an experience perspective, the numbers aren't overwhelming. This is they've only got 3 starters on offense, 4 starters on defense, but they got a lot of guys who didn't start that got a lot of experience, which I think kind of tells you a little bit about the limitations of just relying on returning starters. This is a team that has an opportunity, from a talent perspective, to be really, really exceptional. They've got playmakers all over the field, most notably Jonte Cook, the wide receiver. Keep an eye on DeSoto. Right now, one of the things for them, we project them to go to the Division II bracket. If that's the case, they can really make some noise. DeSoto starts the year number 8 in Dave Campbell's Texas football. Number 7, our first Austin area entry, the Lake Travis Cavaliers, the number 7 team in Dave Campbell's Texas football. And this is a team that's going to be a little bit different. They return their quarterback, Bo Edmondson, and they return both offensive and defensive linemen mostly intact. They have to fill some key skill position spots. That's going to be a real question for them. They're going to be young there. If they can grow up as things progress, they're going to be very dangerous there in Region 4, once again projected to go to the Division I bracket. Lake Travis starts here number 7 in Dave Campbell's Texas football. To number 6, our first state finalist checks in at number 6, and it's the Denton-Guyer Wildcats, the reigning state Division II state finalist from a year ago. Brings back Jackson Arnold, one of the very best quarterbacks in the state of Texas, and their defensive backfield figures to be really, really talented, with 5 starters back on both sides of the ball. This is going to be a team that, under new coach Reed Heim, is going to need a little bit of polishing, especially at the depth perspective. But their frontline players, their 11-on-11 is going to be as good as anybody in the state. This Guyer team is dangerous, with a great opportunity to go back to a state championship game. They are right now projected to go to the Division II bracket, which could make them very dangerous. Keep an eye on Guyer. They start the year number 6 in Dave Campbell's Texas football. Into the top 5, where we find a familiar face, the Katy Tigers, the number 5 team to start the year in Dave Campbell's Texas football. A state semifinalist from a year ago, brings back a lot of their offensive line, and when that happens, they're going to be pretty darn good. Of course, bringing back Seth Davis at the running back spot helps as well. But this is a team that at wide receiver is going to be a little bit thin, and the defense is going to need a little bit of retooling. Now look. This is Gary Joseph we're talking about. Their defense is going to be on point. They're going to be a contender, especially right now we project them to go to the Division II bracket. If that's the case, they've got a great opportunity to make a very deep run. The Katy Tigers start the year number 5 in Dave Campbell's Texas football. Number 4, the Duncanville Panthers, the number 4 team in Dave Campbell's Texas football, the state runner-up in the Division I bracket last year, has some holes to fill. Lose a lot of their star power from last year's squad. Amari Abor is gone. That fearsome defensive front is going to need to be retooled. But if we know anything about Duncanville, they don't rebuild, they reload. They're going to be reloaded this year with 6 starters back on each side of the ball. They right now are the favorite of the Division I bracket in the Region 1, or Region 2 rather. This is a Duncanville team that expects to be playing for a state championship. We expect them to be in that mix. Duncanville starts the year number 4 in Dave Campbell's Texas football. To number 3, the South Lake Carroll Dragons, the number 3 team in Dave Campbell's Texas football. And there's just really a lot to like about this bunch, especially on the offensive side. Bringing back what I think is going to be one of the most underrated running games in the state. Their offensive line is back. They bring back Caden Anderson at the quarterback spot. Now, their defense is going to need to be rebuilt. They've only got 2 starters back from last year's defense that led them to the state semifinals. But this is a team that has an opportunity to play very, very deep into December and potentially to win it all. A lot of it comes down to which bracket they go to. Last year we went to the Division I bracket, ran into Duncanville in the semifinal, and that was that. If they go to the Division II bracket, which is where we project them, we think they can win the state championship. Keep an eye on South Lake Carroll. They start the year number 3 in Dave Campbell's Texas football. Number 2, the reigning Division I state champion, Galena Park North Shore Mustangs, are the number 2 team in Dave Campbell's Texas football. One of the remarkable things about them was that they won a state championship with such a young squad. This is a team that has an opportunity to be even more explosive in the passing game, with a developing quarterback in Caleb Bailey and a number of speedy wide receivers. And by the way, you're going to be stunned by this, but North Shore's going to have a really good secondary. Now, the defensive front needs to be retooled, and the front 7 is going to need some experience. But they have some experience at some key positions. And furthermore, North Shore and Coach John Kay, one of the very best in the business, has earned the benefit of the doubt. Whatever the holes they have, we feel like they're going to fill them. North Shore starts the year number 2 in Dave Campbell's Texas football. And the number 1 team in Dave Campbell's Texas football to start the season is the 3-time defending state champion, Austin Westlake Chaparrals. Now, look, there's a couple of ways to look at this team. On one hand, we think that they're going to have they do have to replace Cade Klubnik, one of the very best quarterbacks in the state. But their defensive line is going to be so ferocious, and their offensive line is going to be one of the very best in the state, that when added to what should be a really good running game and a star wide receiver in Jaden Greathouse, they're certainly going to be right back in that mix. They have some holes to fill offensively on the offensive line and linebacker and quarterback. Those are questions. And with new coach Tony Salazar, they're questions that he's going to have to answer in a hurry. But the pedigree for Austin Westlake speaks for itself. They deserve to be the number 1 team in the state. They're picked to win the Division I state championship this year. Austin Westlake starts the year number 1 in Dave Campbell's Texas football. So there you have it. The Class 6A top 10. Number 10, Rockwall. Number 9, Spring Westfield. Number 8, DeSoto. Number 7 is Lake Travis. Number 6, Denton Geyer. Number 5, Katy. Number 4, Duncanville. Number 3, South Lake Carroll. Number 2, Galena Park North Shore. And the number 1 team in the state to start the season, the Austin Westlake Chaparrals. Of course, you can find expanded rankings for the 2022 summer edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football and the 2022 summer edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Expanded rankings for every classification. We've gone through all of them, giving you the top 10 in each of them, but we have expanded rankings for every classification, from 6A all the way down to private school 6-man. We've got expanded rankings in there.
And to note, 6A goes all the way to 50.
Yes.
Everyone else, every other division since they're split into classification since they're split into division is 25. Only 25. So you get the 50 together, but now, 6A is all 1 through 50
now,
lists.
if you're interested, and remember, there's an added layer of intrigue in 6A because they're not pre-split. Mm-hmm. So it depends on who wins like 4th place in certain districts.
Right.
But as we project it right now, your state semifinals would be in Division 1. It would be Duncanville and Allen. And in Division 2, it would be Westlake and North Shore. Would be in Division 1. We project Westlake to go back to the Division 1 bracket after being in Division 2 last year. There's that. On the Division 2 side, it would be South Lake Carroll and DeSoto in a semifinal.
And we haven't seen that before.
And it would be Katy and Austin Vandegrift in the other semifinal. Would be our pick right now. So that's what it looks like. Of course, we have expanded rankings in the 2022 summer edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. We hope you'll pick them up at texasfootball.com/subscribe. One last thing to do today, Pickle, before we take off for a week. Mm-hmm. Really more than a week, because we're not doing that show Monday, right?
No.
We're going to
be at the Goat's wedding.
We'll be in Myrtle Beach for Craigway's wedding. It's time for Helpful Honda Mailbag Friday.
The North Texas Honda dealers want to help you score some great deals on award-winning Hondas. Stop by your Helpful Honda dealer today or visit ntxhondadealers.com to learn more.
So if you got questions about high school football, college football, recruiting, lifestyle, romance, travel, we've got time for a few questions before we hit the road. Pickle is going off to Mexico.
I am.
Mallory's going off to Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
Ishmael's going off to space.
Yes.
Going to space. He's very excited about
You're going to Napa.
I'm going to Napa Valley.
One of our other girls, Emma's going to France. We're literally, there's going to be no one in this office.
We
all kind of looked at each other and said, week off, cool.
Yeah, we really. Well, the thing is, like, coaching school is right around the corner.
Yep.
This is like.
It's in between 7-on-7 and coaching school, and that's the prime thing. Because next week is all clinics, coaching clinics too.
Yeah, there's only
media days.
There's certain times that we can take breaks. This is one, for, like 4th of July weekend is one, and then like the week after, and then like first week in like August. If you want to take off first week in August.
That's when like Powers usually does it. So we kind of split up, and it works out well for us too, that if one of us are going to be gone, instead of trying to do the show with like a bunch of scattered people, we might as well all just hightail it for a week.
Absolutely. So
we do have some questions.
Yes. Okay. So if you got questions, high school football, college football, recruiting, lifestyle, romance, travel, let us know. We'll get to as many as we can.
One of them, this isn't necessarily in our purview, you could say, but were you surprised by all the Big Ten news yesterday?
No.
Steph gave you credit. You basically called your shot on the ticket the other day.
It's been imminent. Like it seemed obvious for a while. The fact that it's happening so quickly is a little interesting, and the fact that the Big Ten is the one that was on the front foot and said, no, it's not going to be one super conference. It's going to be 2. Mm-hmm. Like we're going to be the super conference. Like we're gonna bow up with the SEC. That's particularly interesting. This is not the end of this, by the way.
No.
There's another shoe to drop. I would love to see the Big 12 be proactive for the first time in their ever-loving history and go out and say, all right, Arizona schools, come with us. Colorado, come with us. Utah, come with us. We're going to form our own 14-team conference, and we're going to start poaching because right now for the Big 12, for the Pac-12, the Pac-12 is reeling, and they are ripe for the picking. And so if you're the Big 12, I think you want to go and see if you can do that because here's the thing. I promise you, the Pac-12 is now calling BYU, and they're saying, how serious are you about the Big 12? How serious are you? They're calling, the Texas Tech. How serious are you about the Big 12? Do you want to come with us and play in West Coast football? They're going to be proactive because if they sit on their hands, whoever sits on their hands the most is going to lose here because there's only room for one. The Pac-12 and the Big 12, they are the two weakest of the Power Five, so they need to make a move here because the poaching's not done. The poaching's not done. This is only going one way at this point. So if you ain't first, you're last, to quote a great man. So it was a little surprising only in the fact that it happened so quickly and the fact that it was the Big Ten that was so proactive. I think Oregon's got to be on the move somewhere.
Yep.
I think Oregon probably calls the Big Ten and say, hey, room for one more, something like that. It's going to
travel. I think the only surprising thing out of all of that was just that they're doing all sporting programs at those two schools. And the only reason I say that is because football has the money to travel all the way across the U.S. 3 or 4 times. I'm not ignorant. Do you want to tell me that women's golf has the money to do that? Or even women's basketball, even sometimes men's basketball, if you're not really a basketball school. I mean, there's just so many layers to that. I think that was the only surprising thing in all of that.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see.
It's a lot of travel costs.
I mean, to go from USC to Rutgers,
dude. And you want to talk about time zones too? We talked about time zones a little bit earlier. It was that's a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, a 3:00 game on the East Coast kicks off at noon on the West Coast, so they're gonna have to consider that. But the Big Ten has obviously staked their claim as being one of the two super conferences. Maybe there's room for a third, or maybe the other two are just going to dissolve. Who knows what happens to the ACC? The ACC's got some assets that are valuable. Florida State, Clemson, Miami are all valuable, but then they've also got a lot of chaff. Like Georgia Tech is not a valuable property.
No.
Certain other teams in the ACC are not valuable properties, and so it's going to be really interesting.
There's teams in the SEC that aren't valuable property. It's stretches.
It's for sure, but Vanderbilt's been in there, so what do you do? You're going to kick them out? You're going to kick Missouri out? Maybe you're just sorry, it's not working out for us. Anyway, what else we got?
This one was directed at me. It said, from a former COG grad, which I respect, what did the Mean Green do to change K.D. Davis's mind and pull out the transfer portal? He had a chance at some real NIL money at Ole Miss or A&M. And let me go on the record by saying I don't have any inside information into this. I don't know what he got offered. I don't know what talks were happening. But I think that this is a trend that you're going to see a little bit more often. If you want my real hot take on it, is the fact that guys can enter the transfer portal like that and go see what else is out there. It's almost like window shopping a little bit. You're kind of walking out to see what other options, what money is a program like Ole Miss, what money is a program like A&M going to throw at you if you want to focus just on the NIL deal, or how far deep down the roster you're going to be. And it might have been, I don't know this for a fact, but in my mind, what it seemed like from everything that I read was just the fact that he realized that he was going to go just be another guy on A&M squad or at Ole Miss's squad, or he could stay at North Texas and be the guy, have the potential to be one of the best defenders that UNT has ever had. So, I mean, that was just a personal decision within him, but I don't know anything specific. That's just reading the tea leaves is what I got out of that.
Yeah, I can see that. I think there's going to be a lot more flirting with the transfer portal than you think. Of I'm going to check it out, and then maybe I'll come back. I'll leave the door open. So I don't know.
Well, and you can look at that.
It's a huge coup for North Texas.
You can look at that as a counter offer too. I mean, if North Texas donors were to see, hey, he's our best player on this entire team is about to leave us for A&M. I bet we can muster up some stuff. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
think you can do that just to kind of flirt and bargain your way through it from either way.
Absolutely.
Question is...
Let's do 2 more.
Okay, why does a town like Gladewater have 2 small schools, Gladewater and Union Grove, both within 8 minutes of each other? I know they're separate ISDs, but why?
Well, so...
Just to not have a mega school?
No, usually, I don't know specifically about Gladewater and Union Grove. I don't. There's also I believe there's is Gladewater Sabine in a there's Sabine ISD, and that's technically in Gladewater as well, or technically in Liberty City. What the address is in Gladewater. The sad truth of it is that usually it's a certain class or a certain demographic that wants to split off and have their own school district, and it's kind of a I don't know if that's the case with Gladewater, but I know that that's the case in other places that they're like, we want to go and we want to have our own little area. It's kind of like that. Highland Park's an example. Highland Park is its own school district in the middle of Dallas ISD, and they were like, we want to have our own school district for reasons that are important to them. So that's the uncomfortable answer to that. I don't know if that's the case with Gladewater, with Gladewater, but that is usually what happens. Is that they want to go and have their own. They want to have power over their own school instead of being, they want to divide it up into a place that they can control.
I was going to say, and this is a lot more relevant typically in a bigger populated area, like you mentioned, Highland Park, Dallas ISD type of thing. It is a little bit more obscure to see that in a very small town,
Sure.
and I wouldn't say Gladewater is incredibly tiny, but
No.
it does tend
right.
to happen more in that. So those cases where it is a smaller town, then it gets it's kind of eye-raising.
It's about making it more local control,
right?
And for school districts to want to have the school be exactly what they want it to be. You can read into that however you will.
Yep.
We got one more.
Yes, best and worst vacation you've ever been on, as we set sail.
The best vacation I've ever been on. My wife and I went to Europe, and that was great. I also loved my first trip out to Big Bend. My first trip out to Big Bend was just awesome. I had a great time. We drove out there. It was just like it really fits what I'm looking for. My worst vacation. There was a time. It wasn't bad. I don't know if I've ever had a really stinky vacation.
Right, I was just going to say, I don't think anything I've had has
Back
been
a couple years ago, my wife and I
dud.
went to San Francisco, and it was fine. It was okay. I'm about to fly back to San Francisco now, but we're going to Napa. That was okay. Another thing that another vacation that we had that was only okay. This was a family one, but my dad got the idea that we were going to go on this big road trip through the Midwest, and this was actually, it was when I was a kid, but we drove all the way up to like Milwaukee from Dallas, all the way up to Milwaukee. We stopped a few places, and it was fun because we went to ball games in Chicago, we went to ball game in St. Louis, we went to ball game in Milwaukee.
That's the
stuff like
exact
that.
same road trip we made, but we stopped at Six Flags instead of
But
ballparks.
we are built different. But being in the car that long, I remember being like, all right, this is
a lot.
This is a lot.
Yeah, we did over 3,000 miles as we went all the way up, like from Llano to Wisconsin was the peak, and then we came all the way back down. So it was a blast. But yeah, we went to a bunch of different Six Flags. I think if I had to say mine, and mine's a little dicey because I was lucky enough in college to get to study abroad for 6 weeks over in Europe. So it's like, that's not necessarily a vacation, but if you want to consider it that, I wouldn't necessarily argue with it. Like, I was going to school and I was learning, but I mean, ultimately it was awesome to live there for 6 weeks. So that is kind of a weird answer to that. I did get to go to Hawaii for 2 weeks as my high school graduation present. So that was awesome.
That's awesome.
Family vacation wise,
we went on a crappy cruise once.
oh really? Oh,
Like
that
we've
stinks.
there was a run where my dad got really into cruises, and we went a few times, and we went on one that was stinky.
Yeah.
It was not good.
That
might be it.
The only time on vacation where I haven't, maybe like the worst one I've had, I went to Daytona Beach for a spring break trip one year, and it was great, but there was a cold front that hit the northeast, and it sent it all the way down. So we woke up one morning on spring break, and it was 39 degrees in Daytona Beach. So it wasn't bad, but it just kind of stunk. You finally get out of, you're on spring break, you're looking to have fun on the beach, and then you're sitting there in sweats because you're freezing. So that kind of stunk.
So there you go.
But yeah.
And with that, we're going on vacation.
Yeah, see y'all never.
We're going to be off next week. We will be back. Our next show
Tuesday
will
the
be
12th.
On Tuesday, July 12th. We will be back and better than ever. And don't hold us to that. It might just be, we might be real average then too. So anyway.
We might just sit here and glare at each other because we're back.
I know. But at that point, we'll be back the 12th. The 14th, we're going to Six Man Coaches Association clinic in Wichita Falls. And then the next Saturday, we're going to coaching school.
Yeah.
So,
WTF premiering on the 15th.
And WTF premiering on the 15th.
So that'll be a big week of a lot of fun.
Big week of a lot of fun.
It's a good week to come back.
It'll be good to come back. So at least when we come back to the studio.
It's all exciting stuff.
It's all exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Exactly. If you're coming back just another week, you're like,
Yeah, it's not like another week in magazine season where you know that death is imminent.
Right, exactly. That's going to do it for us. Thanks for spending a little bit of your day with us. Follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/Dave Campbell's. And, of course, see us at texasfootball.com. Thanks to Mallory Hartley and Zaycoven Henderson for being our guests. That's a combo platter I didn't expect. For Ashley Pickle, I'm Greg Tepper. Vince Young, please get your Player of the Year trophy. We'll see you on July 12th on Texas Football Today.